one giant leap for mankind. Although apparently, records say that the one small step that Armstrong took wasn't actually that small. Armstrong had set the spacecraft to ship down so gently that apparently the shock absorbers in the capsule didn't compress to the boom. And he had about 3.5 feet from the capsule called the Eagle, from the Eagle's ladder to the surface. So the step was actually somewhat of a leap of 3.5 feet to get onto the Earth, because he had set the capsule down so gently that it actually, the shock absorbers didn't like compress down to the moon's surface. Aldrin and Armstrong say probably the toughest task of the 2 hours they spent on the moon was actually planting the American flag, made by Sears, by the way. The little, I guess, negative wisdom. The reason why is when they, to put the flag down into the ground, they said that that the lunar soil was very soft, but that they found the surface to just be a thin wisp of dust over hard rock. And so to actually set the flag down so where it wouldn't fall over, because that would have been a little bit of an embarrassment, right? Public's watching this, the flag going down, and it falls over. Probably, they needed to make sure that flag stood tall. And so with that thin wisp of dust, that hard rock underneath, it was difficult to get the flag down. Apparently, when they left, the flag did not stay standing. The amount of vibration from when they left the moon caused the flag to tip over. They did manage to drive the flagpole a few inches to the ground, and they obviously filmed it for the broadcast, which we'll watch here momentarily. Neil Armstrong, I don't know why I thought high school students might find this interesting. Neil Armstrong was the first man to walk on the moon, but Aldrin was the first one to urinate on the moon. Okay? While millions watched on live TV, Aldrin actually relieved himself from a tube fitted inside his spacesuit. Now, I don't think most Americans really knew that was going on at the time. Okay, but thought you all might find that an interesting piece of history. An estimated 600 million people watched the moon landing, and that was the highest rated television watching of any historical event up until, so 600 million. Anybody want to take a guess what may have superseded that? Huh? Which wedding? Yes, not the recent royal wedding, but the royal wedding that happened in 1981 with the Prince of Wales and Lady Diana Spencer had 750 million, so surpassed by the royal wedding. But 600 million individuals did watch the moon landing. By landing on the moon, the United States had effectively, or at least we claimed we had, won the space race. That began with that Sputnik launch way back in 1957, 12 years prior. On their end, the Soviets had made 4 failed attempts to launch a lunar landing craft between 69 and 72. So after this, the Soviets responded with 4 attempts to try to get a lunar craft on the moon, and it did not. All 4 of those attempts failed. Here's a few more fun facts. I already said that Neil Armstrong stepped on the moon with his left foot. Moon was Buzz Aldrin's mother's maiden name. So Buzz Aldrin, his mom, her maiden name, last name was Moon, which is kind of an ironic coincidence. There are 3 golf balls sitting on the moon. Some of you all, I know the reason why, but I want some of you all maybe that might be interesting to Google and find out why. There are 3 golf balls sitting on the moon. Okay. And when Buzz Aldrin joined Neil Armstrong out on the moon surface, he had to make sure not to lock the Eagle's door. The Eagle was the capsule, because there was no outdoor handle. Those of you all that may have been with your parents at times and you've been locked out of the car. I can't imagine being locked outside your car on the moon. AAA, I don't think, heads up to the moon. A couple pictures. This is Buzz Aldrin, and what's interesting is there are a few snapshots. Obviously, we have the video of Neil Armstrong, but a lot of snapshots of the individuals on the moon are actually Buzz Aldrin. And there's a couple, and one of them they credit this as being one of the few shots of Neil Armstrong, because very up close you'd be able to see Neil Armstrong's reflection in Buzz Aldrin's mask. Most of the pictures, those still pictures of the 2 on the moon, are actually of Buzz Aldrin. We're going to watch the video. Obviously not as great TV, because this is the actual footage of some of the CNN coverage we have now, but thought it was important to show that. And again, the footage is not the high crisp color quality we typically have now.
That's 1 small step for man, 1 giant leap for man. Columbia, this is Houston, ALS, over.
flag.
The EVA is progressing beautifully. They're setting up the flag now. I guess you're about the only person around that doesn't have TV coverage of the scene. That's all right, I don't mind a bit. They got the flag up now, and you can see the stars and stripes on the left. Are you getting a TV picture now, Houston? Neil, yes, we are getting a TV picture. You're going to feel with you now. I'd like to evaluate the various phases that a person can traveling on the lunar surface. You do have to be, rather careful to keep track of where your center mass is. Sometimes it takes about 2 or 3 spaces to make sure that you've got your feet underneath you. And about 2 or 3 or maybe 4 easy phases can bring you to a fairly smooth stop. Like a football player, you just have to put out to the side and cut a little bit.
That kind of takes us to the end of the 1960s. Please, again, whoops, we don't watch that again. That takes us through the 1960s again. Please make sure, I had Glenn on there, but it's Armstrong and Aldrin. I'll make sure we have that fact accurate. Let's take a 5-minute break. We'll come back, go through the 70s, 80s, 90s, and the current decade. So certainly the 60s was the most meaty decade, but we've got some other important things to talk about. So 5-minute break, please come back at like 10:12. Thank you for catching that. Well, it's teacher, you know, sometimes you're like more than you think. But thank you for asking. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer them, or if I don't know the answer, I'll certainly find out the answer for you.